So a young boy goes on a journey to find his best friend and former guard dog after all dogs are banished to an island when a canine flu outbreak spreads throughout Japan. Sound cool? Good, because I'm here to talk about Isle of Dogs from 2018. So Isle of Dogs was directed by Wes Anderson, who I'm a fan of, I gotta say. I haven't yet seen all of his movies, but I'm a huge fan of the Royal Tenenbaums. I also love animals, so I decided to finally pick up Isle of Dogs and also Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I haven't watched yet. Anyways, Isle of Dogs is set in the fictitious city of Megasaki in Japan in the year 2038. Suddenly there's an outbreak of a canine flu, and it's determined that it could possibly spread to humans. I used to work professionally with animals, and this would be classified as a zoonotic viral disease. I'm not trying to sound smart, but I like to think I can still put those student loans to use. Kenji Kobayashi, the mayor of Megasaki, announces that he will deport all dogs to a small island nearby called Trash Island, despite a man known as Professor Watanabe claiming to be able to create a vaccine. 12-year-old Atari Kobayashi decides to hijack a plane to go to Trash Island and look for Spots, his bodyguard and best friend. Atari and Spots have had a bond since the day that they met. They just instantly loved each other. Spots was trained to be Atari's guard dog and not his friend, but he has never ignored his affection for Atari. Now this movie proposes an interesting concept. What if dogs have the same intellect as humans, but we aren't aware of it since we can't verbally communicate with each other? And as a lifelong dog fan, I found this to be an incredible concept. The movie also makes another interesting point. We claim to love dogs, but if a situation like this were to arise, would we risk our own health to help our dogs? Or would we take the easy route and just get rid of them despite the fact that they have protected us and given us love for thousands of years? We all know how loyal dogs are. If the tables were turned, they wouldn't abandon us. I think we know this. Now this movie has a pretty stacked cast of voice actors. It's got Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Jeff Goldblum, Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson, Harvey Keitel, Tilda Swinton, and more. Every dog has its own name and backstory. Scarlett Johansson plays Nutmeg, a former show dog. She knows a lot of dog tricks from her show days, but she never really wanted to do them and sees the tricks as pretty pointless skills, even though other dogs are very much impressed by them. Edward Norton plays Rex, who is one of the smarter dogs. His pack believes in a democracy, so there's no leader, but he is always the one to propose an idea, and this annoys the other dogs, but usually he is right. My favorite of all the dogs, though, is Chief, played by Bryan Cranston. Chief has more of a sad backstory. He's been astray most of his life. He's the only dog in the pack who doesn't trust humans and doesn't miss having a good life as a pet, because he never really had one. I imagine that this mistrust of humans stems from abusive incidents early on in his life. He has to warn everybody that he bites if they get too close to him. He tells a story about the only short period of his life where he wasn't astray. He lived with a family with a young child in which he bit when the child went to pet him. He says he doesn't even really know why he did it other than he was probably just scared. On Trash Island, Chief meets Atari, who gives him a bath and grooms him and even gives him a dog treat, which he's never had before. He warns Atari that he might bite him, but he doesn't. In fact, he kind of really loves Atari. He even wonders a little bit if maybe he's been wrong about people and that they are actually all bad. So I already mentioned that Isle of Dogs was directed by Wes Anderson, but I didn't point out that he also wrote and produced it. The style of animation used was stop motion, and it's pretty unique visually. The film was inspired by films by Akira Kurosawa and Hayao Miyazaki, and also films like The Plague Dogs and 101 Dalmatians. This is a very Wes Anderson film. The dialogue reminded me of The Royal Tenenbaums, like I said, one of my favorite movies, with a very dry tone, very monotone. If you are a Wes Anderson fan, you'll be right at home. And if you have a deep connection and understanding of dogs, you will pick up on the type of things that I mentioned. And I don't know much about Wes Anderson as a person, but I think he has a deep understanding of dogs, and that makes me really happy because not a lot of people do. And I think this is a large part of what this movie is about. I think it's also about humans and how we make decisions. Sometimes we choose the easy way out instead of compromising and finding some middle ground. It also highlights the fact that love is really the answer to everything. Humans need it, but so do dogs. For a score, I'm going to give Isle of Dogs an 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't really what I expected, but I did go in pretty blind. There's a lot here to love, and it will really make you think, and I completely respect Wes Anderson for doing this. Cheers, everyone.